Very, very serious problem. You can't open the newspaper without seeing a headline. It is a litany just in the last week. In the case of the Federal Reserve, the central bank admitting that an outside group was able to gain access through what they say was a temporary vulnerability in a website vendor product. Sounds kind of wordy, but according to Reuters, it is basically a database that was set up to enable bankers to communicate on an emergency level in the case of a natural disaster. Now, the breach was discovered. It did not encroach on or affect critical operations. However, there are reports that it enabled the group to get about 4,000 numbers of bankers that were in that database. And as you said, the activist collective Anonymous taking responsibility. So the motive seems to be political. Let's put that against the Microsoft Symantec news coming out, which is much more in the sort of cyber organized crime realm. And in that case, as you said, they shut down that botnet. Very sci-fi sounding when you read that. It enabled them to enslave up to 1 million computers, and they were basically making money over fraudulent ad clicks, but it could do all sorts of other things. Once the computer was under their control, they were able to send out viruses, steal identities, do all sorts of other crime. This is, I think what's unusual is not that it's happening, but that we are hearing about it. When you talk to experts, this is what they've been warning about, that the entire sort of government system and corporate system is really under threat and underprepared for this kind of cyber crime, Pauline.
So, Maggie, security experts are saying that they've been warning these companies and institutions to do more. And obviously, from just those two stories with Microsoft and the Federal Reserve, this is clearly a global problem. So are companies and institutions doing enough? Are they investing enough in protecting themselves?
The answer is no, no, and no. And one of the main problems, I mentioned that what's unusual maybe is that we're hearing about all of these. There's been a lot of frustration on the part of enforcement that companies are not coordinating together. These criminals are very slippery. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are. They're obviously sort of ahead on technology. If corporations, the private sector, and governments were able to coordinate their efforts, which is what you want in law enforcement, they might be able to sort of get further along or get a leg up. But corporations don't want to admit in many times when they've been the victim of a hack or their systems have been infiltrated. They're afraid of repercussions from customers. So transparency is one of the main things standing in the way. And it's also a matter of taking it seriously. We have U.S. Attorney here in Manhattan who's been ranting about this, saying you only need to have one door open, one mistake for a cyber criminal to get in. You have to be right all the time. So companies need to invest more heavily. And the U.S. Defense Secretary has been warning about the threat to infrastructure here in the U.S. The Pentagon has actually increased fivefold the cyber command at the Pentagon. They are so concerned about this. They say we are being attacked every single day. So there definitely needs to be coordination and transparency between government and the private sector if they're going to get ahead of this. Very worrying stuff indeed.